I think Farida has already given us a little bit of info on what we are going to do on this session. So I'll just go straight into it. EduSport is a non-governmental organization that connects, trains, and equips over 300 local catalysts. So we have a lot of our catalysts on the call today who coordinates EduNet, EcoSTEM, Ignite Equity, Educate clubs, and also collaborative community-led approach. So EduSport has like a collaborative community-led approach with 50 community-led sports across Ghana and Kenya. Also, quality learning opportunities for over 10,000 children in Ghana and I suppose Kenya as well. Now, so about the EduSport Ignite Talk. So EduSport Ignite Talk help us to empower volunteers, staff members, and wider stakeholders who work with young learners in our communities in Ghana and Kenya. Also, this talk are free for everyone to attend and takes place on Zoom. They hold once every month. So if you see yourself here, you are part of the EduSport Ignite Talk. I think this is the August session. Yes. So it's time to meet our amazing guests. So our first guest that we are going to introduce is Mr. Jorge Appiah, who is the CEO and co-founder of SolarTaxi. So Jorge Appiah is the CEO and co-founder of SolarTaxi. SolarTaxi is an e-mobility startup company that provides modern, eco-friendly mobility facilities. SolarTaxis, their main objective is to offer its clients middle-class electric vehicles as the best mobility option, which is eco-friendly at an affordable cost to meet the growing mobility demand and accessibility. So I would like us, I think Mr. George is here. I would like us to give a hand of applause for Mr. George. Those of you can use the reaction. Let's see some reaction for Mr. George Appiah, who is the co-founder of SolarTaxi. Okay, so we'll move on to our next guest, which is Mr. Charles. Okay, I think the surname. Pardon me if I get it, if I don't get the pronunciation right. Antipem. Okay. Sorry. I don't like to. So I'll just go with Mr. Charles. So Mr. Charles is the co-founder and CEO of Dext Technology Limited. He led the development of the science set at the Dext Technology. In 2018, the science set was named as the most innovative education solution in Africa by the African Union Commission for Education, Science, Technology, and Innovation. He is a member of the African Union STEM Education Cluster, a speaker and representative of all African youth entrepreneurs at the UK Africa Investment Summit London 2020. He has received many awards for his work. Okay, so a little drum roll for Mr. Charles. Okay, so my next guest, my final guest is Farida Yesufu, which I think you're already familiar with. I'll still introduce her anyway. Farida Yesufu is the founder and literacy leader at the Bookworm Cafe. The Bookworm Cafe is a pioneering and leading children's literacy organization dedicated to promoting children's literature and literacy development. The Bookworm Cafe offers a comprehensive range of resources, including children's library, children's bookstore, and children's book clubs. By giving children access to high-quality, diverse books and organizing several impactful literacy programs, they combine the art and pleasure of reading, transforming reading habits in homes and schools. So that is me, says Farida Yesufu. Okay, no, so we'll just go right into it. So this is an introduction of our guest speakers today. So we have Mr. George, Mr. Charles, and we have Madam Farida, who are going to share with us their entrepreneurship journey and how to build a sustainable enterprise. Okay, so I would just like to get right into it and open the floor for okay. Sorry, am I still on? Hi, can anybody hear me? I think the place is so
Yes, I can hear you.
Loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I would just like to go straight into it. I would just like to start with the conversation. And my first question goes to all the guest speakers. So anybody can start answering. So my question is, so before we start, we know that every great initiative starts with a spark of inspiration. So I want to find out from our guest speakers what was their initial idea or experience that led them to start their enterprise, and how did it evolve into what it is today. So I want to know that inspiration or the experience that led you to start your enterprise, and how did it evolve into what your organization or enterprise is today. So any of you can just come up and then answer this question. It's to the three guest speakers, and I think all of them are going to answer, but we just want to see who will go first. Or should I mention names?
I think Farida can go ahead and then go.
Okay.
Farida to go first.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Madam Farida.
Okay. So for me, it was having grown up as a child who loved to read, and then growing up to be an adult and not seeing children have the same passion for reading, and having children of my own who I wanted to impact with that joy and pleasure of reading, led me to think of something I could do to ensure that that culture of reading within our society and our communities and our schools was still there. So that's what led me to start. First of all, I started as a small library in my house, lending books to my neighbors and friends. And it's I saw that the interest was growing, and then decided to now launch it into an enterprise that was not just going to be a library, but also like a bookstore, and then a book club, everything around solutions about getting children to read.
Okay, thank you, Madam Farida. Yeah, so Sir Charles, you want to share with us what inspired you, what was that aha moment, and which led you to start your enterprise?
So thank you very much, Isaac, and good evening to everyone. Let me apologize for my voice. I'm a little bit under the weather today, so if you can't see my face and also my voice sounds a little funny, please forgive me for that. I mean, my story is much like Farida, really, started when I was also young, but particularly the inspiration came from my father, and so my father was a teacher. He later became a headmaster, and education was something that was so important to him. And I saw firsthand the impact of an education that works, particularly with regards to science education. And so I'd always wanted to find a way to bring science alive, because my dad used to take us out whenever it would rain into the school field, and there would be like a rain gauge there that we would use to measure how much rainfall had happened. And I remember that activity so vividly, and I like to tell that story a lot. But that stuck with me. And so when I went to the university, the idea was to go back to my community to do something to help. And so the initial idea wasn't really even to start a business. It was just really, how could we help young people be inspired to do science in a way that's very practical, in a way that's very experiential. And when we did it, the students were very excited, the teachers were very excited, and so we started thinking about, how do we scale this up? How do we let this reach out to more people? And that was essentially how the idea of Dext and the Science Set was born.
Great. I think I enjoyed the story of your dad being like a motivational factor, and how you measure the rain and all those things. I think that's very great. Okay, so Mr. George, we'd also like to hear from you, your aha moment, your inspiration that led you to start SolarTaxi.
All right, thank you, everyone. It's quite an amazing story to hear from the other speakers, how they come by on. I wish mine was inspiring as that, or as that, but I think SolarTaxi is I should call it. It's an iteration of a number of things that we're doing. There's no one particular point that we just dream of something new that came through. But it's something that it's well more of something to look at. How do we solve a problem that exists? That's the cost of transportation and the challenges of transportation, and seeing whether we can have a sustainable solution towards it. So it's also more of a gradual process trying to address a problem. Yes, might not be a sexy background story though, but I think basically it's something that evolved over a period of time, trying to find a solution or answer that question of providing affordable transportation. So that's what I can say.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. George. Hello.
Yes, if I may, let me make George's story inspirational.
Okay.
George, I've known George for quite a while, and I can say that similar to us, he's always had the knack to solve problems and always find creative ways to, when he sees a problem, he wants to solve it. Whether it's within his capacity or not, he tries to find a way to solve it, and that is, I guess, what essentially led to he seeing the problem of transportation and trying to solve it. I can count like so many projects that George has done, all of them very, very daring and very, very ambitious. And so he does have an inspirational story. He just doesn't want to tell it.
Charles, thank you for your kind words. But yeah, I do appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Charles, for that inspirational addition to make Mr. George's story very inspiring. Yes. I think I have a question for Mr. Charles. I just curious, nowadays a lot of entrepreneurs they have this common term that they use. They say you don't need money or you don't need funds to start a business or an enterprise. I want to get your idea or your opinion on that. Is it true? So when you were starting your what's the name, Dext technology, how did you start with how did you start? So I want to understand. Do you think Dext technology would have been where it is even without initial funding, or you don't even need money to start? You started without funds, like you just started with inspiration and not fun. Like people say, we don't need money to start business. What is your thought on that opinion? So, as unpopular opinion about that very term that a lot of entrepreneurs share with the young ones, that you don't need money to start an organization. What's your opinion on that? So this is for Mr. Charles.
Sure. Thank you very much, Isaac, for the question. You do need money to start an enterprise. It's just not the first thing that you need. And so there are a host of things that when they come together in the right way at the right time, you can have an idea turn into a business that creates value for people. You do need money, but like I said, it's not the first thing. The first thing you do need is, just like I said, some inspiration, some problem, like George also said, some problem that you want to solve. Whether it's a problem for you or it's a problem for somebody else, whether it's a passion that you have, whatever it is, that's usually the starting point. Something you see that can be better, right? So it could be an NGO you want to start, or it could be a commercial enterprise you want to start. But you see something and say, well, this thing can be better. I can contribute some value towards this thing. And that's usually the first thing you need. But that's not the only thing you need. The next thing that I would say you need would be to engage those who benefit from your enterprise or organization or company. And so being able to approach those who will benefit from it. So in our case, it was schools. And so even before we knew how to make the sign set, we were knocking on the doors of schools and asking them if what we have is something that they would need, or the idea that we had was something that they would need, and if they were willing to pay for it, right? And so very early on, that was what we did. And it was those early conversations that gave us the license to be able to go and ask for money. And so we went and asked for money from family and friends to enable us start the business. And so idea or passion or inspiration, engage the people that are going to benefit from it. And then once you have some good feedback, once you know that whatever it is that you have is something people want and people are willing to patronize, then you can move on to the next step and look for some kind of resource. If you have a bit of savings and you want to use your own money to start, you can do that. But if you don't, you then can ask for money from family and friends. In our case, we got some money from my uncle and then my co-founder's dad. So we started the business, started making the first sign set, and then later George Appiah and some other investors actually came in to invest in our company to provide us with the resources we needed to continue to scale the company. And we continue to raise funds from different sources to continue to build the business. And so you definitely need money, but it's not the first thing you need.
Right. All right. Thank you. So you definitely need money, but it is not the first thing you need. That's the child's opinion on that thing. All right. So I would like to ask a question. This question is for the CEO of SolarTaxi, Mr. George. So I realize that SolarTaxi is like a pioneer in the green transportation space. So I want to find out, how do you see the future of electric mobility in Ghana? And what challenges do you face in making it a mainstream? So making it something that you all accept in Ghana.
All right, thank you. But before that, let me just comment brief. I think the simplification of how to start a business as given by Charles is really amazing, and something that probably we should quote and post it for other people to see. That I think he summarized everything in just a few seconds of how do you actually start and run and grow a business and test of that. And I think these are the foundations of what most businesses, when the young people want to start business. I believe we have a lot of young people on the course. So yeah, I think this is something that I'm actually impressed by how we have summarized everything regarding the question that you gave him. But in terms of what we see electric vehicle, the future year and all that, I think for us, we see mobility as key to the transformation of our economy, not just in Ghana, but in Africa. In almost every economy, transportation is the foundation, or forms the foundation, one of the key foundations of the economy. It affects the prices of almost everything. If a slightest increase in the cost of transportation, it affects everything from foodstuff to school fees to as you can name it. So finding a way that we address transportation providing an affordable transportation. That is very, very key. The cost of moving about in Ghana and most African part is extremely expensive for both for people and for goods. For goods, it's even worse. For people, it's somehow manageable, but we cannot grow and develop as a nation or as a continent without tackling accessibility and affordability of mobility services. And for us as Africans and as Ghanaians, we have the chance to develop this amazing sector by also going green. So we probably might be the first continent who experience rapid development without polluting, like the way maybe Europe or America or China or Asia have to go that route before they can achieve that economic success. So it's a unique opportunity for us as Africans, for us as Ghanaians, of utilizing the benefits of affordable and accessible green transportation to accelerate our goals, economic development and socio-economic development as a people. We need to get to a stage where the average Ghanaian doesn't need to get to the age of, let's say, 35 or 40 before they can afford their first car. But from the age of 20, 22, 24, someone should be able to acquire his first car. It allows you to stay at a very far place and still come to work in a central point in city. So you don't spend all your money paying for a very expensive rent. A number of benefits. I can't list everything on, but these are some of the things that we hope to see. Movement of goods should be easy and affordable. I think that's something that we have been able to help with reducing the cost of logistics for most of our clients that we work with, and then the transportation cost on. So we seek to grow this so that we make it very, very affordable. We want to make it such a way that owning your first car will not be a very difficult thing, and it should be like just like you walking into a shop, and today you should get a car to drive out. Sometimes you're not even paying anything much as a deposit for you to get your first ride. So that is what we see as the future, providing mobility, moving people and goods across the country and across the continent.
Thank you, George. Yeah. Okay, so I have a question. I have a question for Farida. But before that, I think I have a follow-up question for you, Mr. George. How do you build trust among your consumers? How do you make them trust and also change their mind from moving from the vehicle that are using petrol, diesel to the electric one? How do you do that?
Well, it's an extremely difficult thing sometimes. So I think most people are looking for their self-interest and they're looking for value. You need to speak to the interest and value to the person. I want my self-interest. I will not just buy something if I don't see my interest being met in that. So communicate the value of your product or service to me. Speak to my interest. It's less about what you want. You want me to pay for the thing or buy the thing. It's less about that. Speak to my interest. Like how would getting this vehicle maybe bring me more money? Because maybe I love money. Bring me convenience. Maybe I don't despise going to the fuel station to just buy expensive fuel. All right, maybe I care about the climate. Pitch that to me. That going this way can save the environment. All right. So for business people, for entrepreneurs, even in our normal lives, they sales or convincing people to buy or purchase a service from you, it is something that is part of our life. And it only works by speaking to the interest of the people. I mean, we started electric vehicle was not a thing in Ghana, in West Africa, or some parts in East Africa. So it was a very difficult in trying to sell the technology like that. But I think what worked for us and why we were able to achieve some earlier success was that we rather focus on the value. We're selling value. So it's not about this is a motor, it is just electric, so buy it. No, this is a motor. If you use it, it's going to reduce your cost of operation. If you talk to an entrepreneur who's spending 2,000 cedis a month on fuel and say that, hey, you now spend 400 cedis a month, you're speaking to the interest of the person. Oh, I can save 1,600. That is money saved. So the person is most likely to look at the product and use it. But if you're just going to sell it just because it's electric, then you're not speaking to the value. You're not speaking to the self-interest of the customer. So the customer might not make a decision that maybe might go where you think on it to be. So yeah, being able to sell the value or the self-interest of the person works out. There's an interesting mix of an emotions, but I think they are connected with all this, the self-value, the self-interest and value. A little bit of emotional comes in because people make decisions around some of that too. But I think fundamentally the self-interest and the value, if well communicated, you are able to convince somebody to go your way, to take a decision that favors you. And you don't take things personal. Sometimes you go to somebody, the person says no. You know that maybe at that moment, at that time, the person doesn't need your service, doesn't need your products. It's not like a no that I will never buy your product. It's a no for today. Tomorrow I'll come. Next 2 weeks I'll come. Next year I'll come. Next 2 years I'll come. Right, so it's never like absolutely no. It's no because today maybe I don't need that service, I don't need that product. So we'll come back another time on. But speak to the values, speak to the self-interest. It's kind of open doors for you.
Right. Thank you. So, keep on keeping on, keep on knocking doors, and I think one day it's going to open. So we identify the customer's pain points, and then we try to address it specifically. All right. Okay. So I have a question for Madam Farida. Now I wanted to find out. So we all know that literacy is a foundation for lifelong learning. I want to find out, how do you measure the impact of your programs on children's reading habits and educational outcomes?
Okay. So a lot of the children who are, so we're not just the bookstore selling books, we also run book clubs. So most of the children who are buying books from us are also in our literacy club. So we work directly with the children and we see the impacts that it's making on them in terms of things like how they speak, in terms of things like comprehension. And then also one of the ways we also measure impact is from the feedback that we get from their teachers, because we work with also teachers who work with these children as well. And so they give us feedback like, we hear feedback like, this child that is in Bookworm Club is so good with comprehension. What are you doing? Thank you for what you're doing. There's a visible difference when a child has spent time with books and, like has seen the importance of books and has made books part of their culture. So it reflects in their schools, in their performance in school, in their academics. Everyone knows that when children are raised to read and to develop the habits of reading, everyone knows that it reflects in their academics and not just in literacy. It reflects in mathematics, it reflects in their science, it just reflects in their entire development as children. So yeah, we see this from the results in school and from feedback from their teachers as well.
Right. Thank you. So I think I have a follow-up question. Do you, just in case you have like any story about any child who have used or who has undergone your programs and this has had an impact in their life, and also have actually inspired you to do more of what you are doing, if you can share that with us.
Okay, so two things. First one is in terms of confidence. As I mentioned, we run book clubs, and the way we run book clubs is such that we get children who are to interact. So they basically drive what happens in the clubs. They're driving the discussions. And you find some children who come in as very timid children start to become very outspoken because they want their voices to be heard. They want their opinions to be heard. So you see a child who will say things like, I'm more confident, even from the parents too, like my child is more confident, and they are sending us messages thanking us for whatever it is that you do. Thank you for what it is that you do. This child is speaking up more. And then also in terms of academic performance, so directly, so one way that we know that books are important and without a doubt that books and literacy is important is at the end of the school term. Most of the children who are in our clubs or who have a direct relationship with us, we always hear feedback like they got best in literacy, best in this, best in that. So you see that they have become not just readers, but independent learners, because they've learned how to study, how to understand, how to comprehend, how to ask questions from what they are learning or with their teachers. And so, yeah, so those are the kinds of testimonies that we see from the children who we work with.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry that. Yeah, so at this point, I think I would just go back to my audience to find out if anybody have a question before anyone. Anyone have a question? This I want to hear from you. Do you have any question for our guest speakers? No question? We continue.
I have a question for George.
Okay.
So George, solar podcasts is very interesting to me, because for us, I'm in Nigeria, and recently we've been bearing the brunt of increased price of petrol. It's now expensive to own cars, and I wonder, like, what are your plans for expansion to other? Let's start with West African countries for a start, because I don't think I've ever heard of SolarTaxi in Nigeria.
Okay, so that was to Mr. George.
Yes, that was for George.
Yes.
Is he here? Oh, yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is. We can discuss together.
Well, while we wait for George, I have the exact same question for Farida. How do you see your enterprise scaling? Because reading is something that I think it's very critical. Most of the educators that I've engaged with say that reading is a challenge, particularly for students who have grown and got into, like, let's say JHS or something, and then they still have reading problems. It would be great to know how you've sort of like managed to work with students like that, and also what your plan is to scale your enterprise.
Okay, so short term, our plan for scaling is I don't know if everyone knows, but a lot of Nigerians are migrating abroad. So we have people who used to be in our clubs who are no longer in Nigeria. So we started online book clubs, which have been doing quite well, because the same children who used to be in the clubs while they were in Nigeria are in the clubs from wherever they are all over the world. So because of that, we have not just Nigerians now, but people of different nationalities in those clubs. And that's something that we want to continue to do, because we don't want it to just be a club for that is encouraging reading in Nigerian children. As long as you have a problem with encouraging your child to read, join us. And it's even more impactful when it's diverse, when the children are they're learning from each other and they're impacting each other in different ways. So taking things online is one way that we want to scale. And then also in terms of spreading this the collection of books that we carry. So it will interest you to know that we also carry a lot of Ghanaian books, because we work with bookstores in Ghana. I found that there are some really good books coming out of Ghana that we also want children to read, children in Nigeria to read, or African children who are abroad to read. So that partnership is something that we want to continue to do with not just Ghana, but with other African countries. It's kind of difficult to get books across Ghana now, across Africa now. So even as close as Benin Republic, or if you want children to get books, children who are learning French in Nigeria to get books written in French, it's very difficult to get books across this country. So it's something that we want to continue to work with bookstores all over Africa, going to booksellers conferences, speaking to other publishers, those kinds of partnerships and links are the things that the approaches that we're taking to be able to increase the collection that we the diversity of the collection that we carry, so that people from all over the world will be interested in what we are doing. And then also, one of the things that I noticed when we started was our books coming out of Africa. though they were good books, they were not on mainstream shelves across the world. Meanwhile, we're reading books from all of these shelves all over the world. So we're really advocating for books written by African authors to be placed on all of these major platforms all over the world. So we're attending book fairs and book conferences all over the world and showcasing all these books coming out of written by African authors, so that we can partner with distributors who want to carry these books, and so get our books from Africa to be on all these mainstream platforms. So those are the ways we're doing it.
Right. Thank you very much. And I wonder if what you're doing is like franchisable, for lack of a better word. So, and since you're talking about sustainable enterprise, one of the things that I see businesses do is they like they start and they have something that works, but then scaling it becomes another whole different story. Getting into more hands, getting more with the benefit. And often, if you want to push it with your strength and the way you want it to go, sometimes it becomes that much more difficult. But I'm wondering if, so for instance, for what you're doing, is it franchisable? Can you codify it in terms of the process and the how to do it, and then just make it available for some organization working in Ghana somewhere to implement and take your concept and implement it in a way that will benefit the students there without you necessarily having to be there to orchestrate yourself, or in the situation where they don't have access to internet, for instance, how could you codify what you have, the physical version of it, for other people to be able to take it and then implement it somewhere?
Okay, that's a very interesting question, because I've had this discussion about franchising has come up. I've discussed it with one of my mentors, and the reason why that discussion came up was before I thought, okay, I want us to grow at our own pace, and so we were spreading gradually, and then grew up to 17 centers in Lagos, and I experienced burnout, and I realized, no, I can't do everything managing a team of people in 17 centers. So franchising is one of the options that came up when this burnout started. And I realized that we have a system that has worked over the years. This is over 6 years now. And I think, yes, in terms, is it franchisable? Yes. Is it something we have started doing? No, but it's something that we're looking into, because as much as possible, people need these kinds of solutions even in, like you mentioned, in remote places where they don't have access to the internet, or they don't have a shipment of books coming in as we have in cities. Yeah, so it's work in progress.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Farida. Yeah, so I have a question for Mr. Charles. You made mention of the word scale. And that moves me to my next question for you. So in expanding your reach to over 40,000 students globally, I want to understand what strategies have been most successful in scaling your operations while maintaining quality.
Can you come again? I missed you a bit there.
So I'll say that, so in expanding your reach to over 40,000 students globally, what strategies have been most successful for you in scaling your operations while maintaining the quality of the product that you offer to these students?
Right, thank you. I think it's been caring. If I'm to sort of try and summarize it, we care a lot about what we're doing and the people we are doing it for. And so, as counterintuitive as it might sound, really when you focus on the person you are making the thing for, it sort of positions your mind to see how best to reach that person. So, to give you an example, we started with a science set, what we call the science set max. And it was like for extracurricular activities, and you could just take it and you could do any activity you want, whatever class you were in, and all of that. And in our minds, that was what was good for for our users, and that was what the initial schools said they wanted. And we had about 5 schools that we were working with who were using the science and math. But as time went on, we realized that there were a lot of students who were not having access to it. And then for those who were having access to it, how much time they have to actually use that tool, especially in school, was very limited. And like I said, we really cared deeply about making sure that the impact that we want to create is actually felt. And so we started thinking about how do we make more and more students have the science set. And then that led us to thinking about breaking the science set apart into small pieces, which first allows us to reduce the cost of the set. And then secondly, making the set curriculum specific so that when you take the set, it's actually not just a play tool or a toy for you, but it's something that is of academic relevance. And so students and teachers can actually use the science set in school, in class, and do assignments with it and all of those other things. And when we did that, we had a massive increase in our user base. This year we are on track to surpass 100,000 students who have used our science sets, and we constantly are iterating. And as I speak to you, we are in the process of breaking the set down even further because we've realized that there are still challenges between us and reaching some of our students. At the current price point, it's still not affordable for some, and so we're actually breaking the set down further so that if a parent can afford just one activity in the set, they can actually buy that set and then they can use it in their school or in their classroom or wherever they might be. And so it's just really constantly caring about what you're doing and who you're doing it for. That really opens you up to think about how to reach as many people as possible, and being able to iterate and innovate around your product or your service or your offering, to be able to make sure you get more and more people. Of course, you also need money because scaling requires capital. But then if you are building something that people want and you care about them enough that you innovate around the product and around the model that you're using to reach those people, it's very likely that you would find capital to be able to enable you scale in the way that you want. So really care about what you're doing and who you're doing it for. Constantly iterate and have that burning drive to reach more and more and more people. Iterate on your products, iterate on your business model, iterate on your strategy that you're using to reach them, and then seek to raise the capital that you're required to scale.
Okay, thank you, Charles. So I want to, you talked about accessibility. That's one thing I want to take a look at. How is the set, are they accessible to learners in underserved communities or rural communities as well? And if it is, are they paying the same price as so you have like price variation for people in underserved communities, so they can also have access to it? Is there something like that?
Sure, thank you, Isaac. One of the interesting stories that we like to tell is how the science set is bridging the gap between students who are in, let's say, the cities and students who are in underserved communities. And so one of the top schools in Ghana is GIS. They pay school fees in dollars, and it's several thousands of dollars, and it's very expensive to go to. And there's another school called Fongo, which is in the Upper East region of Ghana, relatively underserved. But as I speak to you, both these schools use the science set to teach students science. And so the idea that we can create a tool that, regardless of where you are, whether you have access to electricity, whether you have a science lab, or whatever it is that you have, you actually can implement experiential science education at a very, very reduced cost. So whilst it costs about $10,000 plus to set up a lab, a single science set will cost you about $10. And so it's much more scalable and provides the same and sometimes even a better learning experience. And so they pay across board the same price, whether it's wherever it is that they are. But then the interesting thing is that the price is so low that you have, whether it is they are in an underserved community or they are, in the city, they are all able to afford to use the science center. But like I said, we are actively also working on breaking down the set further so that we have even more affordable sets, so that even more people, especially those in underserved communities, will be able to afford the sets and use them.
Okay, thank you so much. Sir George, I want to find out if Sir George is back. Hi, George.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So okay. So this question is for you. So we think we all know that collaboration is key to building like a sustainable enterprise. Can you share with us a partnership that has been crucial to the success of SolarTaxi and how it came about?
There's a lot of partnerships. I'm kind of looking for which one I can talk about. I think one of the partnerships that we have had that's been good so far is been with GIZ. We work with them on GIZ has been one of the early supporters of SolarTaxi. They purchased some of our bikes, especially converted bikes. We work with them. They use some of our converted bikes. So the converted bike basically means that we took a fuel bike and then we convert it to electric bike, and then we try and use that. It's more like a circular economy kind of thing. Instead of producing a new bike, just convert the fuel bike to electric bike. Yeah, it is cheaper, and also it saves the environment because you're not adding on a new product just to go electric. So I think that is something that works very well. And then also they work with us. We supplied the first electric bus in West Africa to on board light, not just Ghana. And that went very well. I mean, so far we have been able to run it for a couple of times to see how electric buses actually can function in our part of the world. And I think that's been very helpful. We're able to provide them some cars for them to use by their staff and all that. So overall, I think they have helped us with our go-to-market, help us to build the case studies that we need to be able to demonstrate that the feasibility of the product, being able to have a reference case, and it's also a very prominent clients like GIZ. It's something that somebody always look at. Oh, GIZ, then this is credible, or this is right. So I think in that sense that has been successful. If to put it, yeah, that has been successful to put it.
Thank you, Mr. Joe. I think then I have a follow-up question for you. So I was thinking when you're talking about the partnership, I wanted to find out. So I know that in every country have like policies that may significantly influence the success of a sustainable enterprise. And I know that most of the time when we even think about going into doing our entrepreneurship or sole proprietorship, or let's say business owners, we don't think about the government aspect, how some of the government policies can affect us or can actually impact our organization. So I want to find out how has government involvement, whether through support or regulation, impacted the growth of SolarTaxi?
Well, yeah. So I think with a new sector and a new technology like electric vehicles, definitely you need policy to be able to make inroads for scale. I think in terms of demonstration technology or demonstrating for a business model, that is not a problem per se. But then we get a point to run as a business and scale for broader effect. For that, you need policy. You need policy to enable you to achieve that scalability. And I think in that space so far, the government has been coming around to that end. So we see both government agencies, from the Energy Commission to the Ministry of Transport to the Ministry of Science and Technology, are all putting in policies to support various aspects of the industry. So from charging to helping, making it easy for people to import, to sell electric vehicle, tax rebates, tax incentives are all being put in place by the government. And recently, there was a big announcement about waiving of tax for public transportation when it comes to electric vehicles and more other things. And even the government being involved in the conversation, to give confidence to the public and other industrial players, investors, and all that, knowing that, oh, okay, wow, this is something that is going places. The government is interested in that. And so, yeah, policy-wise, validation, and all those things that you get from government, I think so far our government, Ghana government, is doing that compared to other countries. And that is good. It's a step in the right direction. So I would say there have been those kind of amazing support. What we want will be that should be enhanced to make it more easier for young startups, especially those in the mobility sector. The sector can grow, and that's what we'll be looking forward to.
Yeah, thank you. You're speaking for the insight. I think at this point, almost having like a final question to follow you. My last question to Madam Farida is, as we look to the future, what legacy do you hope your enterprise or organization will leave in terms of sustainability and social impact?
Well, this is a dream, but I want to see, we don't currently have libraries for people to use in Nigeria. So you hardly find a library that is equipped for people or children to walk into. So this is something that has been burning for a long time. And this is what I want us to be able to achieve, where you have community libraries at the minimum for people to be able to use and access for free or at little to no cost. So that's the legacy that we want to leave.
Okay. So John, I'm sorry, the Charles. This is a question to you. I think that's my final question to you. I would like you to share with us also, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs who want to build businesses, either profitable or non-profitable? Yeah, so what advice if you could give us like three points advice, what would you be?
Right. Thank you very much. I think I said the first one in the beginning was in your first question that you had, really, that you do need money, but it's not the first thing you need. And so that would be the first thing. The second thing really is that you need a fantastic team. I can't really think about anybody who has built any meaningful enterprise alone. And so if you're going to build a sustainable enterprise, you need somebody who shares your passion, somebody who has some skills you don't have. Sometimes just somebody to, maybe you're too optimistic. You need a pessimistic person somewhere on the team to keep you in check. It could be anything, but you need a good team. And so it's as important as anything, really, that you put together a good team to help you bring whatever idea you have to life and to make it sustainable. And the third thing is that it's a great experience. It has ups and downs, and it's difficult sometimes, and like George said, people will reject you sometimes and all of that. But it helps you to build resilience. It helps you learn so much from being an entrepreneur, so much. Like, it's just incredible how much you learn by trying to work with people and try to create value for people. And so I would encourage everybody to at least attempt to start something. Even if it fails, the number of things that you will learn really would be invaluable for you your entire life. And so it's a beautiful journey, and I encourage everybody to start something at some point in their life. Thank you.
So, yeah, thank you, Mr. Charles. Encouraging everybody to start something, even if you fail, start. If you fail, do it. If you fail, do like that. So just one day you would get what you want. Okay, my final question for Mr. George. So reflecting on your journey with SolarTaxi, what has been the most rewarding aspect of leading a sustainable enterprise, and what keeps you motivated to continue?
Okay. So they said the first one is what? And what has been the exciting part of the journey?
Yeah, rewarding. The most rewarding.
The rewarding part of the journey.
Yeah.
Well, I think yes, maybe the opportunity to learn every day and the chance to work with very amazing people across board. I think in my short life I've get to meet very, very talented and super amazing people. These people leave an imprint in your life. The journey is not easy, but I think some of these things is what's kind of make it worth it at the end of it. So you try to enjoy the journey. It's never a destination when it comes to this. It's a smarter journey based on so the ups and the downs, the are all part of it. It's not a journey of up. It's up and down, and you enjoy it as much as possible. So I think that part of it has been to me very rewarding. That I get to work with so amazing people. Day in, day out, I get to learn so much. I learn so much in a year, kind of things that I get to learn. I think it's above what a lot of people might get opportunity in their lifetime to learn. So that is very, very, very rewarding at the end of it all. And also when you get to see people being impacted by whatever you do is satisfying. And years to come, you meet people that talk about what you have done, and people are using your product or people are using your service. Sometimes people use your car or your bike, they bypass you. You say, oh, okay, that's one product or something like that sort, or impact people's life. They grow out, they become amazing people. They talk about you that, oh, your product, your service helped me to become a better person, something like that sort is rewarding. The last part of the question was, sorry, I think it escaped me. What was the last part of the question again? Sorry. Okay, I don't know whether you can hear me. What was the last part of the question?
What keeps you motivated? Yes.
What keeps me motivated?
Yeah, because I know that sometimes we start this organization and we want to create.
The movie that keeps you motivated, yes, yes.
No, I think there's some things that different. If you're going to choose a path of an entrepreneur or innovator like Charles or Farida, you should be ready to embrace yourself for the journey, because it's a tough journey. Like I said, ups and low. Sometimes, to be honest with you, wake up and you'll be questioning why you are doing this. So it's tough. It's tough. It's not something that I would say that it's always throughout and day out, and you face whatever you need to face to get to wherever you need to get to. For me, maybe it has to do with the people that benefit from what we do, and the impact that you get to create, the things that you get to do. Sometimes even it's not what we achieve by ourselves, but even those that we inspire, then we impart, they come to achieve something bigger than what we will do. So those kind of things are sometimes that I think is what keeps you going on. To be honest, money cannot give the entire motivation, because sometimes you will not see money for a very long time. So if it's your motivation, you might give up. So for me, it has to do with the general impact that you make in people's life, the opportunity that you get to make in people's life. And I think it keeps you going. Like, to the thought of maybe my staff, if you're not getting paid, can make me work harder. So the general impact in people's lives. Sometimes you just want to do it. It's not the money. It's not this. Just want to impart in people's life. And when it's your ambition is connected to a broader aspect, like beyond you, it's not about you, but looking at beyond you, then the days of trouble, the days that you are broke, the days that your things are not going well for you personally, the days that you have challenges, you're still able to carry on, because it is connected to externally, connected to how you impact in people's life, your staff, the people that are using your product, the people that are using your service. You're looking at them. Those are the things that will give you that extra push, that you want to be there for them. You want to disappoint them. You want to impact in people's life. Then that one will keep you going, to let you move beyond your personal maybe disappointment or demotivation, for you to keep on going. So for me, that is the broader connection.
Thank you so much, Mr. George. Yeah, so impact in people's life. Money alone can be motivation. Yeah, so do we have any question? I think Akamve, your hand has been up since. Is there anything? Is it? Yes, Akamve. The hands have been up for some time now. So if you can come off mute and ask your question. Or is it? Okay, so any question for our guests, speakers? I think we should have a lot of questions by now. They said a lot of things, and I think most of us, like Mr. Charles, George, and Farida, has shared with us. We would also want to be our own CEOs, entrepreneurs, and see people use our products, see people being impacted by what we do. So I think we should ask some questions. Any questions that we have? Let's just ask them before this is an opportunity for us to do that before we go up. Okay, so while everybody is trying to put their thoughts together to ask that question, I don't know if Farida can ask a question again. The question that was asked she asked, but was directed to Mr. George, but I think Mr. George wasn't.
Yeah, George, I was wondering, I'd asked, I think you were not here when I asked plans to scale across, at least to West Africa. Fuel is expensive in Nigeria. We would love a solar option. Is George here? Hi,
Hello?
George. That question is for you.
Okay, he's here.
Okay.
All right. It's just quite unfortunate that any kind of question comes. All right. So so can we get questions from the audience now? Response now. From Kathleen, student entrepreneurs, those who have planned or have any question that has to do with building sustainable enterprises. You can get any questions from you. They shared a lot. Any questions?
Okay, Isaac, I think my question, I think probably will be thrown to any panelists. I think listening to the conversation, realize that there's an element of innovation throughout all the enterprises that our wonderful panelists have been discussing from the local communities. How do we think differently about the initiatives that, or how do we approach the issues that we intend to address? Because Charles started on a note by saying that of the problem, right? And sometimes you realize that you just, whatever idea you come up with, looks like someone might have done that already, or so what is the role or the influence of innovation in sustainable enterprise? And of course, if you want to do something new, I think that sometimes you might be asking yourself a lot of questions, and you might even end up feeling discouraged. So what is the role of innovation in building sustainable enterprise, or how have they navigated that terrain of innovation as it pertains to their own enterprises?
All right, so I think that's directed to any of our guests. So we want to know what role does innovation play in building a sustainable enterprise. So which of you would like to take it on? Charles, Jorge, or Farida?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. I'll try and take a swing at it. So you mentioned that sometimes you see a problem, and then any idea you think of, it feels like someone has done it. And my response to that essentially is, if the problem still exists for you to see it, then whatever idea you came up with is still valid, even if somebody has done it. Because clearly, if they had implemented that idea and it was really solving the problem, then it wouldn't be there for you to see it and want to solve it too. And so, your idea is still valid, even if you feel like someone has already done it. You might have a new way of approaching it from within your context and the perspective that you see the problem from. And so the fact that an idea looks like it already exists doesn't mean it cannot be implemented. That there are different science kits. The science set is not the first science kit in the world. The electric cars that SolarTaxi sells, they're not the first to sell electric cars, even in Ghana, right? I stand being corrected, by the way. But my point is, if it's something that it feels like someone has done before, or even know someone has done it before, it doesn't mean your idea is not valid. And concerning innovation and how to use innovation in your problem solving, really, I like to think of innovation as Jomo Ifosa defines it, that you have if you have a way to make something more accessible, a way to make something more affordable, or a way to make something more usable, then that is innovation. And so whatever it is that, again, whatever solution that you're thinking of might even already exists. But if you can think about, how can I make this more affordable for people? What kind of business model can I use? And innovation doesn't always have to be a physical product. It can just be innovation in the way you are approaching it, the business model you are using. So how can I make it more affordable for people? How can I make this more accessible? How can I make a lot more people have access to this thing? And how can I make it more usable? It might be difficult to use in the way it currently exists. How do I make it such that it's much easier for people to use this particular product or service? And so your ideas are still valid, and find a way to make the thing affordable, accessible, and more usable. And that will be innovation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Charles.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you very much.
Oh, hi, Mavis. You can come off mute now and ask a question. Mavis, yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity. I want to know whether they find criticism around them, if there's a practical question, example they can cite. And in fact, it's to any of them who wants to react to it. if they have ever been criticized in their area, and how did they overcome that? Thank you.
So this question is about criticism. We want to find out when you started this or while you are doing it, that any kind of criticism, people trying to demotivate you. Also, how do you deal with that?
So I think for us,
yeah,
criticism, so I think for us, criticism comes in. So I've heard so many comments like, books are no longer in like raining. There's AI, there's everything you need online. So why do you need to learn why do you need to learn to read? Why do you need to learn to spell? And all of that. And I'm going to go back to innovation and what Charles has said. We and I'll speak to it from our bookstore. We're not just a bookstore that would display books and say come and buy. We are also readers of these books that we sell, and so we put ourselves in the shoes of the children who will be reading these books and what they will be getting from the books. And that's what we are telling the parents. So we offer something called Reader's Advisory, which is what bookstores don't do. So we've noticed that parents don't even know what kind of books to get for their children. They're confused because they are not reading the books. They don't know what kind of books children should read now. So we read the books and we recommend. So we tell you that we will recommend the kind of books that we are sure that your children will love. And that because they know that they're going to get that kind of support from us, parents will keep coming back over and over again. Please help me with books for my 8-year-old. I don't know what to get, and will help. So just being innovative about the way that you display your products and you market your products, even if people will say what you are doing is not going to scale or it's not going to grow, being innovative and meeting the pain points of the people that need your products will still make them keep coming back and become loyal customers to you.
All right, thank you, Farida, for that insightful contribution. Yeah, so I don't know if, all right, so do we have any more questions for this? There's 30 seconds more for everyone to get up together. We can move on. Okay, so at this point, I think we've exhausted all our questions for our guest speakers. And so I would just like to say thank you to Charles, George, and Farida for this insightful session on building a sustainable enterprise. I think I've taken a lot from here, especially money. You can't start a business with the thought of using finances alone. You need a team, like a very strong team to help you succeed or build a sustainable enterprise. And also you have to identify the pain points of your customers so you can address it with your product. Yeah, and finally, what I also learned is for us to, even if the idea is, you feel like someone has already done it and there's still a gap, and that is why I think we do research in school. But they ask us to first, you have to state the gap, the research gap. So if there's still a gap, then what you are doing is valid. So thank you to all our panelists for their time. And I would just like to give final, what do we call it? Announcement. Yes, announcement. So yeah, so just like this Ignite Talk, we are inviting you to join our next Meet the Team event. So this is Meet EduSpots Ecosystem Team. So we are going to learn about our ecosystem program, its impact on learners, and plans for the future. So you don't have to miss this one. It's going to be very, very insightful and engaging and fun. Just imagine any great session with this one. I can see Sarah, Lawrence, Gertrude. This is a powerful. It is trio, right? TRIO, right? This three together is going to be very powerful. So don't miss it. I'm inviting you for our next meeting. Just looking for the date. Okay, so the date is already on the screen. Now you should subscribe to our newsletters, and we have our contact details on the screen, as you can see. So info@eduspot.org if you want to email EduSpot about any information, any clarification, use info@eduspot.org, and we have www.eduspot.org. Use this to get any information you want to get. All our information that you need is on this website. Also, LinkedIn, Facebook, what's the name of the other one? Instagram, Twitter, which is now X, EduSpots on Instagram, and then you have EduSpots on LinkedIn, EduSpots on Twitter as well. Yeah, so thank you. So these are our social media handles. So anybody wants to reach out to us via social media, you can do that using the handles. Okay. So thank you all for your time. At this point, I would like to give back the stage to Farida. So in case there's anything that she would like to share with us at this point.
Thank you everyone for coming. Sorry we went over time. Look out for our next event. Have a good evening.